This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya on behalf of TeenEinstein. So this is the last class for the 7th chapter, evolution. Okay, so we'll start the class. We have learned about so many theories behind this evolution or the concept of evolution. It's almost clear now. And next topic in this chapter is biological evolution. So biological evolution, that is the first point we are going to discuss today. So how this biological evolution is taking place, or how biologically the evolution is happening, or how it is taking place. That's what we are going to learn now. So when life originated on Earth, that time onwards, this evolution process is also started, right? There is some kind of changes. Every time some changes are happening. That's why new life forms are appearing. So when life originated on Earth, that time onwards, all type of evolutions, it is taking place. But to make a change, a complete change, it will take time, right? So that time onwards, evolution is there. So the life cycle of an organism, that is also related to the evolution. So the evolution process, the life cycle is also, life cycle of an organism, that is also related to this evolution. Okay, so the time taken for that process, that life cycle of that process is related, or the time taken for that particular process, that is related to the life cycle of that organism. So based on the lifespan or the life cycle, that life cycle of that particular organism, the rate of appearance of that organism, or the rate of appearance of new forms, that also changes. Okay, so based on the lifespan or the entire life cycle of an organism, based on that, appearance of new life forms, that is also changing. How we can explain this? So that is a very simple concept. If the lifespan of an organism is more, so after completing that generation only, next generation will appear. See, in the life cycle of an organism, it will take birth, then it will grow, then reproductive stage will come, then final, another stage, last stage will come, right? So to reach that reproductive stage, it will take some time in the life cycle of an organism. If that lifespan is more means, see, if the lifespan is just for microorganisms and all, it will take very less time. But compared to the higher organism, which is having more lifespan, think about human beings. In the reproductive stage, that stage itself, or the whole life cycle, minimum, we can say 60 to 70 years, it will take to complete one whole life cycle, right? So that is more lifespan. Lifespan is more in the case. So to produce the next generation, it will take more time. And again, like that, continuously life forms will appear. So that change, that one change in each generation, that will accumulate, and finally how to appear a new species. In the new species or new life forms, all these changes will get accumulated. Okay, that's how new life forms are appearing. So in that simple concept, if the lifespan is more, after completing that generation only, next generation will appear. That also with some changes, right? So as the lifespan increases, it takes more time to get an evolved generation. Okay, so the lifespan is more means that, what is the meaning of that? It takes more time to get a changed or evolved generation, because as the lifespan completes, then only it can produce next generation, right? So it will take more time. So for an evolved generation, it takes so much of time. Okay. And you know that microorganisms are very fast in division. Okay. So compared to higher organisms, these microorganisms are very fast in division. They have their reproductive stage will come soon. So within hours they divide and they produce many individuals, or they divide and they form many generations. Okay. So for example, in bacterial colony, we can say bacteria as an example. In bacterial colony, we are considering that means in a suitable medium, it will go very easily, right? In a normal medium, that bacterial colony will grow very fast. But if you are making any change, any kind of change or any kind of alteration in that media, all that organism, how many organisms are present or grown in that particular media, that all organisms won't be able to survive, or all the organisms may not be ready to accept that change, or they won't be able to survive from that. So all organisms body, they can't accept that, or they can't survive that changed condition. Okay. So what will happen there? So suppose that bacterial colony, here you can see one bacterial colony, that bacterial colony name, just imagine, colony name is A and it is growing in a normal medium. So in that normal media, their growth will be normal. They have a faster reproductive rate. Everything is normal. Okay. But if you are changing, means in that media A, that is having that capacity, or that is having ability to use that nutrient media as a source of nutrient and to utilize that component for its growth. And we are making some kind of change or alteration in the composition of that media, in the growth media. And that media, that change, that particular change what we brought into that media, that will be accepted only by some of that organism or some group of bacteria. So among that, suppose there are 1,000 bacteria, among that maybe 100 or 200 can survive in that changed media or the media with new composition, because only their body will be able to accept that change. What about the other organisms or other 800 bacteria? They will die. Okay. So that which can survive under the altered condition or new growth condition, that group is group B. Okay. So once we are making some kind of alteration in the composition in the medium, then these changes will bring some group of bacteria which can survive or which can grow in that altered condition. And this particular survived group, this group brings about new group of bacteria. That group is called as group B. That is the survived one in the altered condition. Those can survive under the altered condition and new growth condition. Then this group B, that group B becomes a variant. Okay, because out of 1,000 bacteria, only 200 survived. Okay, those 200 makes a group, and these are called as variant. And this group, that variant group, newly from the survived 200 bacteria, they may divide and they may form another population, a new population with this special quality, which is having the ability to grow in that altered condition. And that particular group, that will finally appear as a new species. Okay. But you have to note an important point here. Lifespan of an organism is short. Okay. So from this, what we can understand, the lifespan of, when we are considering an example of bacteria, lifespan of that bacteria is very less. So within few days, that can form a new species. That can form a new species. That a new species may appear within very few days. So that shows the relation between lifespan and evolution. Okay. So what is the relation between lifespan and evolution? If the lifespan is short, within very short period, a new life form will appear, a new form of life that can appear. But if the lifespan is more, it will take years together, so many years to form a new organism or a new species. Clear? So the evolution by natural selection in a true sense would have started when cellular forms of life with difference in metabolic capacity originated on Earth. So the rate of appearance of new forms that is linked to the life cycle or the lifespan. Then microbes that divide very fast, that having the ability to multiply and become million of individuals within hours. Microorganisms can become million of individuals within hours. Then colony of bacteria that is growing in a given medium, that is called as group A, and that is having the ability to utilize the component which is present in the media. Then the change in the medium composition that will bring out only that part of population that can survive under the new condition. So those can survive under new condition, only that will exist, and remaining will get wiped off, or they'll get vanished, or they'll get die. So in due course of time, this variant population outgrows the others and appear as new species. So these variant, which is formed as a new one in the altered medium condition, that forms a new species, and within few days this can happen. So in the case of microbes, the lifespan of the organism is very short. So within few days, they can form a new species. But in the case of higher organism, which is having more days, or their lifespan is more, in that condition, the evolution is a slow process because it will take years. Next. But for all other organisms, just now I said, the other organisms which are having lifespan in years, their evolution that may take million of years. So what is that? Short lifespan means evolution will be very fast, and more lifespan is more means that organism's evolution will take million of years. For example, in fish, then in elephant, in fowl, all these evolution will take million of years. Here we said the example of a group A and group B bacteria, right? In the previous slide, I explained about group A and group B bacteria. In that, group A is growth of bacteria in normal condition, right? Group A bacteria, that is under normal condition. So at the same time, group B means the growth of bacteria under altered condition. So in this condition, those organisms which are having the capacity to survive under that altered condition, only that organism will exist. Already we have told about this. And the other organism will be wiped off, or they will die, right? So that from that we can understand what we can learn from this. We can connect with the natural selection. This we can connect with the natural selection. So we can say that fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. So fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. So how we can connect with the natural selection? Those in that altered condition which can survive, or those bacteria which are survived, only those are the selected one by nature. In that altered condition, the selection of nature is done in that altered condition which and all can survive, only those got selected and others died, okay, or others removed. That cannot exist in an altered condition. So definitely there must be a genetic basis for getting selected as a fit one and to evolve as a new species, right? If that organism is able to survive, genetically it is able to survive, means See, all this existence, everything, it's based on genetic. If you're genetically fit means they can survive in that media, altered media. If they are not genetically fit means definitely they will die, right? So, genetic basis. There must be a genetic basis for getting selected as a fit one. As a fit one and to get evolved as a new species. There should be a genetic fitness. Or in other way, we can say that some organisms which have special adaptation to survive in altered environment. See, those organisms which are selected, they have special adaptations or special features which are helping them to survive in that condition. So these are called as special adaptation to survive in altered environment. So this adaptive ability that is inherited. That adaptive ability or that condition to get adapted in that or to get survived in that particular condition, that is adaptive ability. So what is adaptive ability? In a changed condition, it is getting adapted to survive. So that is called as adaptive ability, ability to survive in that new condition. So that have definitely that must be having a genetic basis also. So we can say that fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt. Fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt, and that's how it is getting selected by nature. Okay, and if the organism, that particular organism is having that ability, adaptability, then that organism that will definitely get selected by nature because it can survive. So definitely nature will be selecting the adapted ones which can survive in the altered or changed condition. Got it? Then in biological evolution, next, what is there? According to the Darwin's concept. You have learned the Darwin concept and all. So according to that Darwin concept of evolution, the branching descent and natural selection. These are two main concepts. Okay, which are the two main concepts? Branching descent and natural selection. Natural selection just now I said. So before Darwin, another scientist, another French naturalist, Lamarck said about evolution. Before Darwin, who said? French naturalist Lamarck. He explained about evolution. So according to Lamarck, evolution of organism that occur by use and disuse of organ. We learned the example of giraffe and all. So according to him, according to Lamarck, evolution of organism. What is that? Evolution of organism is taking place by the use and disuse of organs. So it depends upon the usage of some particular organ, evolution is happening. That's why, according to him, giraffes got long neck. Okay. So to prove this, he gave the example of which animal? Long neck of giraffe. How giraffe got long neck? According to Lamarck, or according to Lamarck's concept, giraffes attempted to forage, or they try to eat leaves from the tall trees. So the continued attempt to eat leaves from tall trees, that made the evolution of elongated neck. And this acquired character. So if they are using continuously, it will become a character or that trait. So these acquired character of long neck, they pass to succeeding generations also. Through which process? Through reproduction, they gave to next generation also. And over years, slowly they got long necks. So this was the example suggested by Lamarck. But people were not ready to accept it. And later, people proved that this is not a right concept. Okay. So according to Lamarck, continuous usage of particular organ that will lead to evolution. or use and disuse of organ that gives changes in life forms. So for that, to prove that, he gave the example of giraffe. Giraffes, they used to attempt or they used to eat leaves from tall trees, and this gave the adaptation of elongation of their necks. Okay, so they passed this character, acquired character of elongated necks to next generation also. So over years, that came as an acquired character or acquired long neck. And people, all the people, they were not ready to accept Lamarck this concept, because that example, it was not completely acceptable. Okay, so nobody believes this example anymore or this concept. Okay, but later people proved that this is not the right concept. Then definitely we will get a doubt that evolution is a process. Evolution is a process or a result of a process, right? We have learned, according to Lamarck, that usage, continuous usage, that gave long neck for giraffes. So we will think like this only. Doubt, we'll get a doubt. Evolution is a process. Is it a process or it is a result of a process? See, we are explaining about the formation of Earth and this world, everything, right? So we can explain evolution as a process. Evolution of Earth, it is a process. So because all this formation of Earth and all, that did not happen in a single day. See, that is a continuous process. Slowly, slowly, all this formed. So it's a result of continuous changes. So we can say that evolution is a process. In that angle, we can say. Only in that angle, we can say it's a continuous process. Okay, evolution is happening continuously. So because all these changes on Earth or whatever maybe, it doesn't happen in a single day. So it's a continuous process. So we can say that only in that way we can say that evolution is a process. But when we are saying about the story of life on Earth, think about the difference. When we are saying about the story of life on Earth, we can say that evolution is a result of a process. How? Because that process, that is the natural selection process. So when the nature is selecting the fit ones, that time the evolved ones form a result of evolution, right? The evolved one or the altered condition or those who can survive in that altered condition, only those organisms can survive and only those can live, right? So that is the result of that evolution. So those organisms, that forms the result of evolution. So still it's not clear actually. It's not clear that evolution is a process or it is a result of a process. Okay. So still it's not clear. In one angle, it's a process, and in another angle, it's a result of process. Result of evolution. Okay. So next, another scientist, Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus, another scientist, he worked on populations, and so this studies also influenced Darwin. Thomas Malthus studies also influenced Darwin's work. So we can say that natural selection is based on some actually occurring things and its observations. So what is natural selection? It's based on some actually occurring or actually happening things and its observations. And we can explain this with the help of an example, which is that example. then it will be very clear if you are explaining that. And if you you know that natural resources are limited, right? Then normally when populations are stable in size, when population is having a stable size, so changes you can see, right? So that changes, that is seasonal fluctuations. So we know that in a population, the members have different characters or they vary in their characteristics, and superficially they may show some similarity, right? Organisms show in a population, organisms might show similarity superficially, but genetically definitely they'll be having some kind of difference. And maybe one or two organisms, they may show some genetic similarities also, but not completely, not 100%. Some 70 to 80% that organisms may show genetic similarity also. And most of these variations, they are inherited. Got it? Most of the variations are inherited. So theoretically saying means, if all conditions in a population is maximum or that is the best, then all organisms shows maximum reproduction, right? Do you have any doubt? Like in a population, all the conditions are maximum and it is showing at the best or the best level they are showing. Then all organisms are showing maximum reproduction, right? Because they are getting everything from that population. For growth and development, they are getting everything. Then almost all organisms shows maximum reproduction. And because they grow well, they reach together in the reproductive phase. How it is happening? When all these conditions are well and good in the population, then only. Okay. But this only we can say theoretically. That never happens in reality because all organisms, almost all organisms can't utilize that resource. See, we said about bacteria which are growing in the media. Among that, if suppose there are 1,000 bacteria, among that all 1,000 can't utilize the material or the energy source in the same way, right? So some of the organisms use more and some organisms may use very less, and some intermediate usage also will be there. That means for resources there is a chance of competition. Okay, so the population size, in reality, that theoretically we can say that when all these conditions are well and good, they can grow nicely. But when it comes to reality, there is a chance of competition for utilization of material. So the population size is, in reality, it is limited. Okay. So in this condition, in this particular condition, only some of the organisms can survive, and the other organisms, these organisms which are surviving, they can grow well, and other organisms could not flourish. Got it? So keeping all these in mind, Darwin's insight was like, he asserted all these variations which are heritable and which one can use that particular resource in a better way. Only those organisms or those ones will reproduce and they will leave more number of progenies. So after a particular period of time, only those survived in that altered condition, they grow well, and only those particular group that can leave more progenies because their work is they are working well, they are growing well, they are attaining in reproductive age. So only those can make change in the characteristic of that particular population, and that's how new forms are appearing on earth. Got it? This altered condition, those organisms are working on that or growing on that, and they are forming the altered images or altered forms, and that that is the reason for appearance of new forms. Then next we are going to learn about mechanism of evolution. So what is the next topic? Mechanism of evolution. So according to Darwin, again according to Darwin's concept, now we said some kind of changes that are coming to organism, and those changes can make the appearance of, or they can create new life forms or new organisms after few years. We said about this. So how these variations are coming, or how this speciations or new species formation it is occurring. So in genetics part, when we learned about genetics, molecular genetics, we learned about heritable factors, right? That heritable factors or genes, we learned about that. Or Mendel's concept of inheritance we learned. So these inheritable factors, those inheritable factors can influence, or they can change, or they can influence the phenotype or the appearance of that organism. These inheritable factors or genes, nowadays it is called as genes, they can change or they can influence the phenotype or the appearance of that organism. Okay, but Darwin didn't say about this concept. Darwin kept these factors apart and he gave an explanation. So based on which work? Based on the work on Evening Primrose in 20th century. You note down, based on that, in 20th century, Hugo de Vries, he brought one concept of mutation. So what is actually mutation? What is mutation? Mutation means the change or the difference which is suddenly appearing in that population. Okay, the mutation means the change or difference in which is suddenly appearing in a population. So they said mutations ultimately leads to evolution. So mutations are normally random. It's not a continuous, it's randomly appearing, and they don't have direction also. Anywhere it can happen in any direction, right? That is, there is no direction, and normally it is a random process. So they said mutations ultimately it is leading to evolution, right? That changes, that finally it makes another group of organism. So but variations mentioned by Darwin, okay, these variations which are mentioned by Darwin or Darwinian variations, they are small and directional. Mutations are changes in that population and they don't have direction also. But the variations mentioned by Darwin mentioned about variations. So that Darwinian variation, they are very small. They are very small variation and they have direction also. Okay. Then, according to Darwin, that evolution was gradual process. It's a gradual process according to Darwin. But according to Hugo de Vries, mutation is the reason for the formation of new species. So according to Darwin, what Darwin said, he said it is a gradual process. Evolution is a gradual process. But Hugo de Vries, according to him, mutation is the reason for new species formation. So mutation causes speciation, that is called as saltation. Okay, note down, what is saltation? Single step large mutation, that is called as saltation. Mutation that caused speciation, that is called as saltation. Single step large mutation, that mutation is large and it is a single step. So saltation is single step large mutation. Clear? Next, we are moving to Hardy-Weinberg principle. Okay. So to which one we are moving? We are moving to Hardy-Weinberg principle. So according to Hardy-Weinberg principle, allele frequencies or the number of attempts or the frequencies in one population that is stable. Okay, allelic frequency in a population is stable, and in all generation that will remain constant. Got it? In all generation, that equilibrium that will remain constant. So according to this, the frequency of an allele, according to Hardy-Weinberg principle, the frequency of an allele that remains constant, and that is the same throughout the generations. In all generation, that equilibrium will remain constant. That there will be a constant or there is an equilibrium that is same in all generation. So the total genes and their allelic, the total gene and their alleles in a population, that also remains constant. If that makes changes, that equilibrium will go, right? So we can say that gene pool remains constant. So this constant situation, that is called as genetic equilibrium. That constant situation, that is the genetic equilibrium. If it is changing, that is not in a, or that is not maintaining an equilibrium. Okay, so that is maintaining a, or that remains a constant throughout the generations. From generation to generation, that remains constant. So that maintains a kind of equilibrium or genetic equilibrium. Okay. Next, we can say that sum total, Hardy-Weinberg principle we are going to learn now. Sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. Sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. Okay, what is mean by that? That means in a population, the sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. In a population, we are considering a population, not an individual. We are considering a population. In that, sum total of all allelic frequencies is 1 when it is undisturbed. Okay, when it is maintaining that equilibrium, it will be a constant. Or if there is no disturbance in that population, all allelic frequencies, sum total of all allelic frequencies is 1. But when it is getting disturbed, that changes or the disturbance in that genetic equilibrium, that is happening. Okay, when it is disturbed, that disturbance that creates the changes or that changes the disturbance in that genetic equilibrium, that creates disturbance in the genetic equilibrium also, or that disturbance in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium also happening. That means the total allelic frequency changes from 1. When there is no disturbance, the total allelic, sum total of total allelic frequency is 1. When it is getting disturbed, it won't remain as constant. So this interruption or this kind of disturbance or the change of frequency of alleles will be then considered as changed or the changes which is leading to evolution. That equilibrium is not maintaining on, or when it is getting altered or when it is getting changed, that means that and all movements towards evolution, or that changes the, or that changes will move towards evolution. So this is interpreted as a resulting evolution. Okay. Here with one example we are going to learn now. We are going to learn Hardy-Weinberg principle. So according to that, allelic frequencies, according to hardy-Wein principle, allelic frequencies remain fixed in a population and it's stable. It is stable, right? And it is constant from the generation to generation because it's not getting disturbed. Unless and until it is getting disturbed, it will remain as a constant. So in this example, phenotype of parental generation is homozygous dominant. Here you can see homozygous dominant, heterozygous dominant, and homozygous recessive. Here homozygous dominant, capital Y, capital Y. Capital Y and small y is homozygous, heterozygous dominant. Here small y, that is homozygous recessive. So that is the phenotype. Then genotypic frequency. Genotypic frequency is the total number of individuals. Total number of individuals. It is 500. So out of 500 individuals, 245, here you can see 245. 245 individuals shows homozygous dominant condition, capital Y, capital Y. That means 0.49%. That is the genotypic frequency. Right, out of 500, 245. That means 0.49 genotypic frequency. So out of 500, here 210 shows heterozygous dominant condition. That means out of 500, 210 out of 500, that forms 0.42. Okay. Then out of 500, 45 shows homozygous recessive condition. Homozygous recessive. That is 0.09. That shows small y condition or homozygous recessive condition. So the number of alleles in a gene pool is 1000. How? Here individuals are 500. So number of individuals, that is 500. 500 into 2. How it is coming 1000? Number of individuals is 500. So for each one or each gene, 2 allele. Right? So 500 into 2. That is 1000. And Y allele. Capital Y allele or the dominant allele, how you will calculate? It is present in homozygous condition and homozygous dominant condition and heterozygous dominant condition also, that capital Y is present. Here 2 capital Y, here 1 capital Y, 1 small y, right? So 245 individuals, that is having homozygous condition with both alleles are same. So 245 into 2. We are calculating Y allele frequency. Okay, dominant Y. So here both are dominant. So 245 individuals into 2. Here number of individuals we get 245. 245 into 2. That means 490. Here we will get the answer 490. Next 210. 210 individuals in heterozygous condition. That means 490 plus 210. Here only one allele we can calculate. So it will be exactly like 210 only. So from here we got 490 because here 2 alleles are same. Here only one allele is there, capital Y. So you can consider the same number. Here it will become double because 2 are same. So it is 490 plus 210, that is equal to 700. 700 dominant Y. Then recessive. Recessive Y, how we will calculate? Recessive, here 210 because here one small one capital Y and small y. In heterozygous 210. Here one small y is that, so we need to consider that one also 210. And homozygous recessive. Homozygous recessive, how many are there? 45. And homozygous recessive means both alleles will be same. Y, it will be small y, small y. So 45 into 2 equal to 90. So the allelic frequency for small y is 210 plus 9. 210 plus 90. That is 300 we'll get. Right. Then the allelic frequency. Here we said about 210 plus 90 equal to 300. Then allelic frequency, how we will check? For dominant Y, 700. We got here 700 total capital Y. The 700 divided by, out of how many we are calculating? Out of 1000. That is equal to 0.7, the frequency of P. Next, for recessive one, here we got 300, the answer. 300 divided by 1000. That is 0.3 Q. So according to Hardy-Weinberg analysis, here you can see P frequency 0.7 and 0.7, because here both are same. Then here capital Y, small y. Here capital Y, small y. And here both recessives are present. So these P 0.7 into P 0.7. P square 0.49. Then PQ. P 0.7, Q 0.3. 0.7 into 0.3, 0.21. Then here again PQ. PQ is equal to 0.21. Here Q square is equal to 0.9. So predicted frequency. That predicted frequency of homologous dominant is for capital Y. Then predicted frequency of capital Y, small y. Then predicted frequency of capital small y. Okay, it is 0.49, 0.42 and 0.09. Got it? Here you can see. So equal to 0.49 plus 0.42 plus 0.09 equal to 1 when it is not disturbed. Okay, when it is disturbed, all these frequencies will change. Then it won't maintain that Hardy-Weinberg principle when it is getting disturbed. Okay, if there are some changes in this or while measuring the frequency, that shows the level of or the extent of evolution. Then next is, there are 5 factors which are affecting the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Which are the 5 factors? First one is gene migration or gene flow. What do you mean by gene migration or gene flow? These factors you have to note down. There are 5 factors. Gene migration or gene flow. That is the first one. What is that? In a population or in a population genetics, gene migration or gene flow means transfer of genetic material from one population to another one. Transfer of genetic material from one population to another one. Then gene flow. Gene flow is very important one. So gene flow is very important for transferring genetic diversity. Gene flow, that is important for transferring genetic diversity. And the second reason is genetic drift. What do you mean by genetic drift? Or what is genetic drift? If you have any idea about genetic drift? Genetic drift means it is the change in the frequency of an existing gene variant in a population. So genetic drift means it is a change. It is change or that variation in the frequency of existing gene variant. If there is an existing gene variant, the change in their frequency in a population, that is called as genetic drift. So for an existing variant of a gene, some changes coming in its frequency. And how it's coming? Due to the random sampling, it's coming, that change in frequency. Got it? Then the third one is mutation. All these are affecting Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So note down, first one is gene flow, second one is genetic drift, third one is mutation. So what is mutation? We have already learned about mutation. Mutation means the change in the DNA sequence. So mutations can be due to many reasons. Sometimes DNA copying that mistakes, due to DNA copying mistakes during cell division. Then sometimes due to mutagens, chemical mutagens are there, some kind of radiation, all this may result in the mutation. So because of mutation also, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium will be get affected. And fourth reason is genetic recombination. Genetic recombination in different way, they'll get recombined. Genetic recombination also results in the affected equilibrium. Then natural selection. This natural selection can also affect hardy-Wein equilibrium. So which are the 5 factors? Gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, then natural selection. Then here this mutations, we said it is due to many reasons, right? So from microbial experiments, we can show that here what we can learn from that microbial experiment, what we can learn, the advantages, those mutations which are pre-existing or before, which are present before, that when we are selecting organism after that mutation, that survived ones can form new phenotypes. Okay, when there is a pre-existing mutation and when we are selecting those organisms which are getting mutated, those organisms we are selecting, so that can form a new phenotype. Then these new phenotypes, after few generations, they will form a new species. Got it? So in natural selection, what and all you can expect in that heritable variations that makes or that enables better survival. Natural selection means the fine one, nature will select the fine ones or the fit ones. So there you can enable better survival, that can survive in a better way, and that enables reproduction, and they form more number of progeners because the special ones which are fit for that particular nature, that is getting selected by nature. So that is the natural selection. So those fit one, they can reproduce in proper way, or they'll be good in reproduction, they can survive in a better way, and they forms more number of progeners. Okay. Then let evolution of organisms. I'll just say few points, just note down as such. This is just to mention the period or the time period of that particular organism. So about 2000 million years ago, this MYA, what I have mentioned is million years ago. So 2000 million years ago, first cellular forms of life appeared on Earth. When it is appeared? About 2000 million years ago. And then mechanism, how non-cellular aggregates of giant molecules that could evolve into cells with membranous envelope is not known. So some of these cells, they had the ability to release oxygen. Okay, first cellular form that appeared about 2000 million years ago, and some of these cell forms, they were having the ability to release oxygen, and the reaction could have been similar to the light reaction in photosynthesis, where see that time that release of oxygen, how it will be, they just assuming that reaction may be similar to the light reaction in photosynthesis, because their water is getting splitted with the help of solar energy, which is captured, and then it is channelized by appropriate light harvesting pigments. Okay, so in the similar way, like similar to light reaction, that reaction which is able to release the oxygen, that also might have taken place. So slowly single-celled organism became multicellular. So that shows the evolution. Their single-celled organisms, they became multicellular forms. By the time of 500 million years ago, invertebrates were formed and they were very active on Earth. Okay, so 500 million years ago, that time only invertebrates appeared and they were very active. Then jaws fish. Jaws fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Okay, so it's coming near to current status. Okay, so the jaws fish, first unicellular, then multicellular. Now jaws fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. And invertebrates, when we said 500 million years. So again it's coming. Little more evolution happened and organisms got evolved. So jaws fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Seaweed and few plants existed probably around 320 million years ago. Seaweeds and few plants. They existed probably around 320 million years ago. And we are told that the first organism that invaded land were plants. So first organism which appeared that were plants, and they were widespread on land when animals invaded land. Plants were widespread. When animals came, that time plants were everywhere. Fish without stout and strong fins could have moved on land and go back to water. Okay, this was about 350 million years ago. We said about fish, right? So fish without stout and strong fins, they could move on land and go back to water. And this was around 350 million years ago. Just note down this time period. Okay. Then in 1938, a fish caught in South Africa happened to be coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct. Okay. In 1938, from South Africa, they caught a fish that happened to be coelacanth. Coelacanth, we thought that this is extinct or that is not on earth. So that one in 1938 they caught in South Africa. And these animals called lobfins evolved into the first amphibians that live on both land and water. The animals called lobfins, note down, lobfins evolved into the first amphibians that lived on both land and water. And there are no specimens of these left with us. However, these were ancestors of modern day frogs and salamanders. Okay, there is no specimen, there is no proof left out for this. So, but whatever may be, they were the ancestors of modern frogs and salamanders. Then amphibians evolved into reptiles. Amphibians evolved into reptiles, and these reptiles, they lay thick-shelled eggs. Amphibians evolved into reptiles and they lay thick-shelled eggs which do not dry up in sun, unlike those of amphibians. Okay, the thick-shelled eggs they laid and they were not drying in the sun. And again, we only see their modern days descendants, the turtles, tortoises, and crocodiles. Then in next 200 million years or so, reptiles of different shapes and sizes dominated on Earth. When in the next 200 million years, reptiles of different shapes and size, they dominated on Earth. Then giant ferns, that is pteridophytes. Giant ferns, they were present, but they all fell to form coal deposits slowly. Giant ferns or pteridophytes were present, but they all fell to form coal deposits. And some of these land reptiles, they went back into water to evolve into fish-like reptiles probably 200 million years ago. Okay. So here, as an example, we are saying about lotuses. You can see here the picture here. So in each PowerPoint, you have to note down, each slide we can note down the time period of particular organism. Then after that, the land reptiles, they were of course dinosaurs. Land reptiles, dinosaurs. The biggest of them was Tyrannosaurus. That was around 20 feet in height, and they had a huge, fearsome dragger-like teeth. Okay. Tyrannosaurus, they were about 20 feet in height. Think about the height, 20 feet, and they had huge dragger-like teeth, huge teeth. And about 65 million years ago, see it's coming nearby, 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs suddenly disappeared from the earth, and we don't know the exact reason of that. Some of them explained like climatic changes only killed them, and some said that they evolved into birds, and still we don't know exactly what happened or what is the truth. Maybe some reasons related to this. Small sized reptiles of that era still exist today. Okay, and the first next is mammals. The first mammals were like shrews. Their fossils are very small sized, and mammals were viviparous, and they protected their unborn young inside mother's body. So mammals were viviparous, and they protected their unborn young ones inside the mother's body. Then mammals were more intelligent in sensing and avoiding danger at least. Okay. So what is the difference? Main difference, their intelligence level. They were able to sense and avoid danger. Then when reptiles came down, these mammals took over this earth. Okay. They were in South Africa. Mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. Okay. In South Africa, mammals resembling horse, hippopotamus, then bear, rabbit. So due to continental drift, when South America joined North America, these animals were overridden by North America fauna. Got it? So due to the same continental drift, the pouched mammals of Australia, they survived because of lack of competition from any other mammal. So which is that pouched mammals like in Australia, like kangaroo and all, they survived because the lack of competition. There is no competence between other mammals. Okay, so these are the different organisms in different Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, they were existing. Okay, 50 million years ago, Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus were existing, and they were hairy. Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, they were hairy, and they walked like gorillas and chimpanzees. Their walking style was like gorilla and chimpanzee. Which one? Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus. Then Ramapithecus was more man-like. Okay, which one is more similar to man? Dryopithecus was like ape, and Ramapithecus was more man-like. It was more similar to man, but Dryopithecus was like ape. So few fossils of man-like bones have been discovered in Ethiopia and Tanzania. In Ethiopia and Tanzania, we got fossil which is like man's. Then which is more similar? Ramapithecus was similar to man, and Dryopithecus was more similar to ape. Then These reveal hominid features leading to the belief that about 3 to 4 million years ago, man-like primate walked in the eastern Africa. Okay, and they were probably not taller. Those primates, man-like primates, they were not taller than 4 feet, but walked upright. They were able to walk upright, but they were not taller than 4 feet. And 2 million years ago, Australopithecines probably lived in eastern African grassland. Australopithecines, they probably lived in East African grasslands. It's around 2 million years ago. And the evidence shows they hunted with stone weapons, but they were mainly eating fruits. Okay, they were hunting. They were hunting by using stone weapons, but they were mainly preferring fruits. Some of the bones among the bones discovered were different. Okay, these creatures, they were called the first human-like being, the hominid, and was called Homo habilis. They called us Homo habilis. And the brain capacity between 650 to 800 cc. And they did not eat meat. These are all almost that there is a chance or a probability. So their brain capacity was around 650 to 800 cc, and the probability, there is a probability that they did not eat meat. Okay. Then coming to the last point, fossils discovered in Java in 1891, they revealed the next stage. In 1891, it's very near. So 1891, they revealed the next stage, Homo erectus, about 1.5 million years ago. The fossils which are discovered in Java in 1891, they got fossil, and that shows Homo erectus 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus, they had a large brain. Compared to the last one, their brain capacity is 900 cc, and Homo erectus, they probably ate meat. Up to that, they were preferring fruit. They were hunting by using stones or stone. But they were mainly preferring fruits. But here Homo erectus probably ate meat. And a Neanderthal man with brain size of 1400 cc, they lived in nearest East and Central Asian between 1 lakh to 40,000 years back. Okay, so these they used hides to protect their body and buried their dead. Got it? So there are some kind of changes in each one. Okay. Then Homo sapiens, they arose in Africa and they moved across continents and they developed into distinct races. And during Ice Age, between 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens arose. So prehistoric cave art about 18,000 years ago. One such cave art painting by prehistoric humans that can be seen at Bhimbetka Rocks shelter in Raisin district of Madhya Pradesh in India. And then agriculture came around 10,000 years back, and human settlements started. They started settling in places and they formed different races. So the rest of what happens of part of human history of growth and declines of civilization. Then each one, they started doing their own work, they settled in one place, they started different race, in that different races came. So everything happened continuously, all those changes happened. Got it? So from this main MCQs, the time period and that organism which is present. When coming to the origin and evolution of man, that particular time period and which is similar. What is the similarity between human and that particular organism, and the time period and the brain capacity. So such things you need to note down and learn from this chapter. Got it? So that's all about evolution. So from this chapter, you need to learn the main points which I have mentioned in each class. So that's all, nothing else. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. So do you have any doubt now? I hope it's clear. That's all. Thank you.